my friends, and welcome back. My name is Frank, and in this video, I want to talk about Kickstarter thumbnails. Now, if you're watching this video on YouTube, then you probably saw this particular thumbnail that I created specifically for this video on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's not going to look exactly the same on TikTok, but you get the idea. I've been using Canva to make thumbnails for YouTube videos for quite some time now. Canva helps me create a thumbnail with ease. But I'm not here to talk about YouTube thumbnails. I'm here to talk about Kickstarter thumbnails. Because after all, if you're using Kickstarter, you have to have a good thumbnail to get people's attention so they'll click on your campaign. Here's a very small sample of some of the thumbnails that I saw when I recently clicked on Kickstarter. This one is the first page of the comics. Next we have the first page of publishing. And finally, the first page of filmmaking. The reason I showed you 3 different categories on Kickstarter is to show you that each thumbnail is very different for each category. But no matter what category it is, it has to get your attention. Just like on YouTube or anywhere else, the thumbnail has to get your attention first. To go into more detail about this, let me show you what I used when I first created my very first Kickstarter back in 2020. This was the very first thumbnail that I used for my very first Kickstarter. By the way, it did fail back in 2020. As you can see, it was for my Turkana comics. But honestly, back then, I didn't know a whole lot about thumbnails. This obviously tells you that the Kickstarter was about Turkana, but what comic is it about? It doesn't say. Plus, it's pretty darn busy. There's a lot of characters there and a lot of stuff going on. In 2021, I made my second Kickstarter, which was for The Taming of April. I tried something totally different. Now, this is the Kickstarter thumbnail for that particular campaign. As you can see, it's not as busy. And obviously, since there's a little bit of cleavage there, I was hoping that would get people's attention for the book. But sadly, that Kickstarter also failed as well. So in 2023, I thought I'd give Kickstarter one more try. And this is my Kickstarter for Turkana comic number 7. Now, when I wanted people to follow it, I used this thumbnail. It said, coming soon to Kickstarter, Turkana comic number 7. It had the actual cover of that comic, and you can see Turkana going into a building that was on fire. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then when the Kickstarter actually started, this is what I changed it to. I put the cover of the comic right in the center, and you can see Turkana actually holding a person trying to save them from that building. Again, it's kind of busy, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Turkana, the superhero of the comic, is saving somebody. And finally, for this year's Kickstarter, which by the way was a success, it was for Olivia the Mighty Kraken novels. Now originally, I had this as the thumbnail. It had Olivia the Mighty Kraken on top. It had Olivia in the pink hair, muscles flexing to the side. And you can see all 3 books right there. Unfortunately, I thought this was kind of busy. So I changed it to this instead. Basically, same thing, just moved Olivia to the side. Olivia the Mighty Kraken, and this particular thumbnail was less busy. And as you can see, when it was funded in 4 days, I changed it to this. Fully funded in 4 days. That's awesome. And now the new thumbnail that's on there is Olivia the Mighty Kraken, successful Kickstarter. So if you actually click on the link right now, this is the thumbnail that you'll see, even though it's over now. The whole point I'm trying to make with the thumbnails is that you have to have what you're trying to sell as the center of attention. It shouldn't be too busy, because if the thumbnail has a whole bunch of stuff inside of it, and there's a lot going on, then it can be kind of distracting sometimes. Like I said, my first Kickstarter for Turkana was this, and it is kind of busy. And even though a few years later, I made one for Turkana comic number 7, and it was this, again, kind of busy, I thought at the time that the comic is right in the center. So it's pretty obvious that's what the Kickstarter is about, comic number 7. Again, when you make a thumbnail for Kickstarter or YouTube or whatever, put what you're trying to talk about in the center of the picture. Because with so much stuff on the intranet and so much content for people to see, you have to attract eyeballs with your thumbnail, and putting what you're selling should be the central focus. Alright, that's it for this video. Before I close out the video, I want to remind you, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and of course follow me on TikTok as well. Like this video and make a comment too, because every little bit helps. I really appreciate it. That's all for now. Thanks all for watching, and as always, thank you for your support.